Good morning. We're going to call this training video number 13, Lucky 13. You're probably have watched some of the other videos. If you haven't, please do so before this one. Today, we want to talk about how to turn the conversation from a negative into a positive, or how to change direction of a conversation. We're going to talk about, how to take a construction conversation into a bookkeeping conversation to build clients for bookkeeping. This principle can be applied no matter who your client is, whether you're working for a painting company, basement company, or bathroom company. It really doesn't matter. The principles are the same, but today we're going to focus on how to turn the conversation into a bookkeeping conversation, because obviously one of our clients is a bookkeeper, and we're trying to start a bookkeeping company. So how do you take a regular conversation that is talking about, complaining about anything, and turn it into a potential conversation to acquire bookkeeping clients? So I have a number of situations set up that I'm going to use as an example, but I would just want to make sure that you've started creating at least 10 or 20 different Facebook profiles, because these have to age, because you're going to hire future employees and they're going to have no social media presence, and you need to have Facebook profiles that we can adapt to them, that have 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 followers. Then that way you can have a post go viral by having the different profiles comment on them. If you don't have that, and if you're uncomfortable doing that, then find someone that either runs a business and doesn't have a social media presence to create, do a deal for him. I will do your social media presence for you. I will use your profile, your cell phone number, your email address, or I'll create a new email address. We'll create a profile. Any leads that you get from my work using your profile, you automatically get, because your phone number and your email address will be on your profile, and you benefit, I benefit, and we all move forward. So you can use the example that I use is Peter. He's a carpet installer. I've known him for 40 years. He doesn't have social media. He doesn't even know how to operate a computer, but he still needs business. So I've created one profile for him. I can easily create 2 or 3 more, create a new email address, create a profile, use a cell phone number. Then that way, if the Facebook ever needs to Facebook or LinkedIn ever needs to verify the profile, they will call his number. You will get a code from him and re-verify the profile. So this is a way to help you, help them, and help everyone. And you can create 3 or 4 different profiles using Peter. And how you can do that is create one for residential carpet installation, create one for commercial carpet installation, like condo hallways, which he's done some work. We've helped him get some work to do condo hallways. And you can create one for hardwood flooring, one for residential, one for commercial, and so on. I mean, he does do some tiling and stuff like that. So if you're uncomfortable about creating profiles from scratch, then use a real person and create a profile for him and find a way of sharing that profile. All right, so by this time, I hope you've started creating profiles. You're already using Dragon Naturally Speaking. You're using some of these tools. You have an email signature. You have a calendar link. You have, your training VAs, and hopefully they're watching these videos. You've started building stepping stone relationships, using real estate agents or using interior designers. Watch some of the other videos for stepping stone relationships. You've started using trusted circles, and you're using the link for trusted circles. Um, uh, building effective teams, efficiency studies. You're reading the books on Audible or the Continuous Learning Library, and hopefully you're doing all that. If you aren't, then leave a message below this video asking those questions. Then I can engage with you. We can set up a meeting, or I can respond in the questions on YouTube. Anyways, let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. This is the conversation that I started. This is the one we're going to use today. Oops. So we're going to use this conversation because this conversation is a good example of how the conversation is about culture and, you know, how you should fire employees and stuff like that. So read this, stop the video, read this, and then you'll have an idea what we're talking about. So we're going to convert this conversation into a bookkeeping type conversation. So we're going to minimize my profile, and we're going to load another profile. Oops, I can't do that. By the way, these are my custom commands. I keep talking about Dragon Naturally Speaking and all the pre-written commands that I have here. I don't know, I must have at least 100 here. And I have a cheat sheet, one of these, one of these that I use in case I can't find it, or this comes up and I search for the command, whether I'm talking about culture or whatever it is. Sorry, it's early in the morning and my mouth is getting dry. All right, so when I open this conversation, and this conversation has 698 comments, I want to get it to at least above 700. So the first one that I read that has 5 likes already and has 3 replies. Valid points or not, huge liability as we all know. If that if he is that good at his job, I would tell the partner, all of you should have a meeting. Okay, which we did. So he's talking about liability, which is a good point. Whenever this is a client that punched a hole, not a client, an employee that punched a hole in the wall in one of my client's offices. And I was asking, how would you deal with that? And the result is, when you read some of the comments, 99%, actually almost 100% said he should be fired. Okay, so this conversation is about firing an employee. How do you take a conversation from firing an employee into creating a chain of conversations or chain of emails that lead someone into hiring a bookkeeper? Okay, so that's our goal today. And I'm going to go back to the other profile. I'm going to go to Grammarly. I have pre-written an email that basically says that. Okay, so I'm going to copy. And this is Grammarly, the paid version, not the free version. The free version is not very good. And that's why we use the paid version. So I copied and pasted a pre-written email. And this one is saying basically, yes, you can not fire the employee, but you're taking on a huge liability, right? So read both so you understand what I'm talking about. You can pause the video to read this. So I'm going to click reply, paste, and now I'm going to modify it. I agree with you. So the first principle of any conversation is you want to agree with the person. Either agree with them, you compliment the person, you become part of his community by saying, I'm a plumber as well, or I'm a painter as well, or my company does painting as well, or I agree with you. So you want to place yourself as much as possible in their environment. That's the quickest way to build trust, is by being one of them. By saying, I agree with you, it means you are part of my community. I trust you. I believe you. Okay. You and I are in the same camp fighting the rest of the world. So agree with them, compliment them, find a way of building community with them right away. Okay. And this could be done over 2 or 3 or 10 emails. Sometimes when you do it all on one email, it becomes a little tougher for them to agree. Like, this person's a total stranger. All of a sudden he agrees with me. He's what is he trying to do? And the first thing they're going to do is look at the profile that I'm using. And this particular profile is from a landscaping business owner who's been in business for over 50 years. And the reason why we want to design or create profiles, and the reason why I use Peter as an example, is because Peter is an old guy. So it's easier to use an older profile that's 50, 60, 70 years old in this case, because 70 years has a lot of credibility in the construction industry. 70 years or 50 years in business has a lot of credibility. So don't create profiles that are brand new. Create profiles that can lend credibility. And we will show you how to do that. Again, Peter is, my age. He's got to be at least 65 or maybe 70 years old. So find people like that they can use or create a profile for them. So I've copied and pasted, and now I want to customize the copy and paste, because you can't just copy and paste, not customize. So I left a space here for me to fill in his name at, what was his name? Joe McDaniel. And hopefully I can find him. And I have to say, it's very difficult to try and concentrate on what I'm doing and speaking with you at the same time. It's not as easy as it sounds. Oops. And sometimes it won't. Joseph McDaniel. And this keeps getting in the way. So it has a greenish hue. Yeah, that's him. You also might want to say, and I don't want to turn on my microphone because it's going to screw up the whole system. I agree with you that it's a huge liability to further customize. And basically what I'm saying is, how do I turn the conversation into firing an employee into a bookkeeper? I use an example of how, my bookkeeper is making a lot of mistakes. And every time that I bring it up to her attention, she starts crying. Anyways, read the email. And when he responds, my response eventually will be, I did hire a bookkeeper. Here's the person that I've hired, in case you need someone. Or maybe he will, actually, that's not good, a good string of events. What we will do after this conversation, if he doesn't respond about his bookkeeper, then I'll ask him questions about his bookkeeper. Does his bookkeeper do, cash flow projections? And, this is why I'm hiring this person. The question that I ask is, what is important to me when hiring a bookkeeper is, cash flow projections. Understanding my numbers, even though I believe I understand my numbers, I don't, and so on. So this is the first email. Once he responds, then I will take very careful consideration in responding to the second email and adding to the types of questions we should be asking when hiring a bookkeeper. Then the third one could be, are you getting the best out of your bookkeeper? How do I make sure that I'm getting the best out of my bookkeeper? Type of question. So it's not a one and done. It's a conversation. It's a series of emails that you lead to eventually says, yeah, maybe I should hire a better bookkeeper. That's the goal over 3 or 4 or 5 emails. Okay, so I'm going to send this. So that's one example. Now what we can do is use ChatGPT to rewrite this email so it's not exactly the same. And for some reason, it's not doing that on this profile. So I can go back to the original. And you can see the little icon here. You click that, and it's rewriting that same email. So you can keep going down the list, find someone else, and use basically the same type of email, as long as it fits, or modify it or eliminate portions of it, of the original email, but you're using the same ideas with different conversations. And you could probably copy and paste the same email. I mean, people know that, people copy and paste on 2 or 3 different conversations, then rewrite and keep going. But use the same example. You can probably use the same example, 10 times in the same conversation, then move on to a different conversation. I hope that makes sense. So again, stop the video, read this. If it makes sense, copy and paste it onto another conversation with someone else. And if it doesn't, then just rewrite the same thing. And use the example that you're having the problem with the bookkeeper to start another conversation with someone else. So let's see if we can find somebody else. I'll be honest here, I've been in charge of an average of 25 employees. I just can't stand a person with the attitude that they can't be fired because he is the most productive employee. I first would have a talk with him. If that doesn't work, and you have no choice but to let him go, it's a tough decision, but you have to remember who is the boss. I know this is tough, but I will send him a message It will send, I know it's tough, but it will send a message to others. And the others will have respect for your decision. Good luck. Okay, again, the first thing we'll want to do is make sure that he is a business owner. And on Facebook, it's not always easy to find out if he's a business owner or not. So I can, open on your new tab. View main profile. And, doing all this and trying to do all this investigative work may pay off. In most cases, it doesn't. Like this one didn't pay off. So two things we can do. We assume he is a business owner. We ask him if he's a business owner. And if he says no, then the question is, when are you going to start your own business? Okay. So no matter what the answer is, you have a path or you have a conversation that you can go to. And this is where, trusted circles come in, because when you're part of a trusted circle, let's say, even though your client is a bookkeeping company, or your employer is a bookkeeping company, you still use trusted circles to promote, a lead for an interior designer, or Peter, the flooring guy, or me as a management consultant, because we're all working together. It's a lot easier to promote other people, and those other people promote you, than it is for you to say, I'm the best bookkeeper on the planet, because nobody's going to believe you. So using trusted circles is the best way, is the fastest way to grow a bookkeeping company in this case, or a painting company, or whatever that is. So promoting other people builds trust for the other people. And if they're doing the same in turn back to you, promoting the bookkeeping company, now everybody wins. A rising tide raises all boats, okay? So it's important to understand that principle, and that principle is really hard for people to understand. Leo, you're asking me to spend 8 or 10 hours a day promoting other people? Yes, that's what I'm asking you to do, because other people are going to be promoting you through their own profiles. So you have to have a reciprocal arrangement with your current colleagues, your BNI group friends, or whatever it is. You sit down with them and say, hey, here's my plan. I will promote you, you promote me, and we all benefit. Because if we promote ourselves, nobody's going to care, nobody's going to pay attention. They're going to say, you're not the best bookkeeper. You're just promoting yourself. I don't believe you. I don't trust you, right? So, but when you have, 50 people promoting you and you're promoting 50 other people, it really makes sense. Have a look at the trusted circles, and I think you'll understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, so this is another conversation that you can certainly start with him. If he's not a business owner, find out when he's going to start his own business. Well, he does say he's been in charge of an average 25 employees. So if he's not a business owner, you're going to say, well, with your experience, you've been in charge of 25 employees. You obviously are a good leader. Why haven't you started your own company? So if he starts his own company, he's going to need a bookkeeper. He's going to need a management consultant. He's going to need a lot of things, right? He's going to need a lot of support. And this is where the trusted circle would come in. Send him the copy of the trusted circle so he automatically has, people that are promoting him as well. Okay, so it's all about helping everyone else. And trust me, helping everyone else is the quickest way to help yourself and grow your business. Okay, so that's another example. I offer this coming from a background in healthcare. I read through this thread and it seems like you truly want to help this man be successful. Okay, so here's another one. I'm positive you can find 50 of these, but the policy is you never stay on a group or one profile for more than 30 minutes. Try and follow that. There's a reason why we do that. But in order to do that, you need to have, 10 other profiles you can jump to and start other conversations, okay? And I'm making this sound like it's easy to find a conversation. It's not easy to find a conversation. It took me probably, an hour this morning to find 5 different examples that I'm going to show you across the top. So even though it took me an hour to put these conversations together, the first time it may take you an hour or two to find these conversations, because a lot of these conversations are about, what type of paint should I use in one of the groups, or what do I do in this situation, or what do I do with this type of client, and you want to pick posts that you can create that conversation link to turn it into eventually hiring a bookkeeper, okay? But you don't do it on the first step. You agree with them, you sympathize with them in their situation, then you find a way. So before you start a conversation, first you design the thread, because there's no point if you can't find a way of how you're going to turn that conversation into them hiring a bookkeeper. I'm not sure there's really a point to start unless you take the mindset that, I will find a way. I don't have a way right now, but I will find a way, but there's got to be that way, okay? So I'm going to jump to this one. I don't want this video to be too long. This is a painting group, and this is a painting conversation. So I copied and pasted the same conversation, and now I'm going to modify it. Okay, I can eliminate some of the things and say, I've had a similar issue, or part of the reason why we're having a hard time finding employees. I could fit that conversation here, and I could say, finding quality employees is difficult, but not impossible. I'm going through a similar issue. I've just hired the bookkeeper. She starts crying every time I say something, and modify that same conversation and change the painting conversation into a bookkeeping conversation. Because again, these are business owners who probably don't know they have an issue with their bookkeeper until you raise some of these issues. Like, how often are you looking at your cash flow projections? Or my business advisor told me that I'm not looking at my financials often enough. He told me that I should be looking at cash flow projections at least once a week. I should not be managing my business based on how much money I have in my bank account. I should do it based on how much money is coming in, how much profit those jobs are generating, and not spend the money before it actually hits my account. And I can't spend deposits because a deposit is not my money. Only 10% or 5% of the deposit is truly my money. So I can't spend, if I get a 40% deposit, I can't spend that 40% because that's not profit, right? 5 or 10% is a net profit. That's the only thing I can spend on marketing or paying employees or whatever it is. I have to hold that money aside for actually completing the project. So so that this is a painting group, painting contractors. This is a good group. Here's another conversation. We know that this gentleman is a business owner, and we can certainly take this conversation into a conversation where we're talking about his bookkeeper or accountant. So every conversation with a business owner can be turned into a conversation that we can discuss his bookkeeper. Okay. This is another painting group. And this is another conversation. You can stop the video and read this. So again, my job is not to tell you what to do. I'm teaching you how to learn. read these conversations, post comments in the comment section below, or send me an email and copy and paste the original conversation, your idea for a response to your boss or to me, and let's set up a live conversation. But I'm having a really hard time responding to these and talking to you at the same time. So let's set up a live event where you've pre-written some emails and how you're customizing it if you're still not comfortable. And then we can use that as a live training event, a live training session. Okay. The idea is to practice. There's no such thing as perfect. Practice which way gets the best response. Save. I save all my conversations. I have a document, a Google document. It's called a to-do list, and it has probably 10,000 pre-written emails. So I can do a search, find a particular topic, whether it's bookkeeping or painting or whatever it is, and I can also use that document to start conversations. Okay, so we haven't really talked about conversations on this post. What type of post creates the best response? Again, is by identifying with them, identifying what they're complaining about, taking a conversation that went viral and copy and paste it, modify it, and use the same idea, the same thought process. Because if they got 300 comments, then if you copy and paste, modify it a little bit, and chances are you can get 300 comments as well, assuming they trust you or they trust the profile. And that's the key, right? Design the profile that they can identify with, okay? I'm sorry this video took a lot longer than expected, but ask your questions. Let's start this process going, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Let's talk again soon. Take care. Bye.